Alright, so as far as abuse goes by the system, I haven't even heard of a story as messed up as mine. There were literally thousands of witnesses to many of the things that happened to me. Thousands. Below here in the link description, I am going to post links to, I want to say, about 70 witnesses that I spoke with. The police in Wyoming, the police in Tacoma, Washington, the police in Nebraska, in a small town called Chapel, the police in Scotts Bluff, the police across the state of Colorado, and of course police right here in Virginia, all did pretty messed up stuff by not documenting what it is that I was telling them. And when they did document it, they documented bits and parts and pieces. That's why it's important for me to be allowed to write a written report, to actually have the time to sit down with it, and to actually show an investigator what's going on. They took advantage of my disabilities and my inability to do many of the technical things that y'all require in order to do that over the internet. I needed help. But those who are supposed to help me, those who we pay taxes to in order to do these things, we're not doing these things that you're paying taxes for. Well, maybe not you, Mr. Trump. But the fact is, even the judge slandered my name in the courtroom. Kathleen M. Jansky. She's actually just a magistrate. She wasn't the only one, though. Now, the public pretender that I had in Arapahoe County, her name was Pamela Carty. She did not do her job. Matter of fact, she went out of her way not to do her job. She outright lied repeatedly to me and to the courts. Her and the DA played a nice fancy little game on October 15th of 2018, where Pamela Carty blindsided me with some BS that she should have taken care of. According to the law, she's supposed to take care of these things, and she hadn't. And because she hadn't, I had failure to appears on my record that did not belong there. 3 of them. 3 failure to appears. Now the police, the reason that they kept on dropping the assault charges against me is because in court I could prove why it is that they had motive and intent to assault me. From speaking out against them to the news media, it wasn't difficult to tell that they had a bias. A very set and specific bias. There's a reason that they went out of their way not to take a report from me, not to allow me to make a written statement. There's a reason that they did these things. Now, I may sound like I'm rambling like a madman. Well, I am mad. I'm angry. I'm upset. I'm hurt. And I didn't get $1 million loan from my daddy. My dad, after doing nothing for most of my life, he decided to say, well, I could give you $20,000 and you'd need $60,000. Shit, dude. Wouldn't that be nice to see $20,000 out of you? Wouldn't it have been nice for 22 years of my life to get more than a pack of M&Ms out of you? Matter of fact. By the way, thank you for the pack of M&Ms when I turned 18, Dad. That was swell of you. Now, the link description has about 70 witness interviews, but there's a lot of evidence that other officials have. It's pretty obvious that I will never be allowed an honest day in court. So my only option is to do this, to continue doing this, trying to shed light on how it actually doesn't work. I need help getting a lawyer. The problem is these things happened across multiple jurisdictions and involved many judges and police officers who I was prevented from filing reports against. You ever tried doing that stuff over the internet? They make it impossible. I'm gonna try to find some of the other links that are pretty important and post them up here too. The things that happened to Natalie were fucking disgusting. The things that happened to me were fucking disgusting. By the end of all those people meddling, instead of allowing us two friends to be friends, they wanted to put their 2 cents in and harass and threaten and abuse me over ear breathers. Fact is, I'm not dead. And I did a lot of the things that people accused me of. But I didn't do them until after I was accused. If you're going to accuse somebody of doing something, you better know the difference. If you're going to go out of your way to take everything that I type as if I'm some evil son of a bitch trying to hide from it all, keep in mind that, oh, hello, sir.
There you go.
Still breathing. Keep in mind that I'm willing to spend the rest of my life in prison to see to it that the truth comes out. I'm willing to spend the rest of my life in prison to see to it that these sexual predators are off the streets. I'm willing to spend the rest of my life in prison for those things. If nobody's going to prosecute any of the crimes against me, then obviously those things are legal, right? And if it's legal, then it's legal for me to do too, right? Well, if it's illegal for me to do those things, then it's illegal to do for other people to do those things. And if it's illegal for other people to do those things, then the police should have taken a report instead of going out of their way to hide their own wrongdoing. Many of the people who are my witnesses, they can't really come forward because it'll lend ear to the things that they did wrong. And nobody want to admit that they did something wrong, now do they? Well, I do. I admitted all sorts of stuff that I screwed up. I admitted all sorts of things that I took wrong and all sorts of things that I got wrong. But most of the time it was misinformation. It was people lying to me and playing head games with me. I'm highly intelligent and I'm going to figure it out. The problem is, even though every red flag ended up being, well, there's a good reason that my beautiful brain red flagged it. The fact is, there's just so much of it. And although a lot of people intended on doing good things and meant well, being harassed by the Bollingers and their friends and family got to be too much for a lot of people. You got no idea how many people sent me messages saying that their friends and family are being threatened, or they're getting threatening pictures of their kids with ropes around their necks. Yeah, the police intimidated the shit out of a lot of people, and so did the Bollingers. And I stood up to these motherfuckers. And I'll continue to do so. The things that were done to prevent me from having a court date, from even showing up in court dates where I could show the wrongdoing of the Bollingers, show the wrongdoing of Kara Johnson Miles, show the wrongdoing of Danica Garner and Rochelle Shelley Campbell, show the wrongdoing of these judges and these lawyers. And you know what? You got 70 70 YouTube videos in the chat description here that prove that I was telling the truth. Now, a few of them videos, people and I don't see eye to eye. And some of them, people were less honest because they knew they were being recorded. But when it all comes down to it, it shows that I was telling the truth. It shows that people should have been allowed to make a police report. From Mandy Hughes to Alyssa Rainwater, myself, Shannon Alvarado, Kayla Trujillo, and then there's also Steve Tombleson, Katie Cahill. There's a lot of people that should have made police reports, and there's quite a few who claim that they tried. I'd like to believe that they did. Most of the people who are pissed off at me, they're pissed off at me at calling them out for not keeping their word. Well, that's fine. Mr. President, I don't like your politics. I don't have to. Fact is, you're supposed to be the President of the United States, right? When I threatened you, it was to try to force an outside agency to look at all the things that these police agencies were doing across multiple jurisdictions to make it worse for me to exist. I've got evidence that proves I didn't stalk Natalie. Proof that we were friends while they were pretending like I stalked them. Yes, I drove 1,700 miles to see her, at her request, by the way. That's not stalking when somebody asks you to do it. Police need to be forced to wear body cameras. I was an activist who saved lives in Boulder, Colorado for years. I protected people like Natalie and Alicia Bollinger. I kept people like that safe. I also tried to run them off because they were down there with the criminal element. The problem isn't having the evidence. The problem is getting someone to take a look at it. And instead of taking a look at all these people and all the things that they did for 2 years because somebody who was on heroin didn't want to admit it. All right. We got some major issues here now. The major issue is that these people were allowed to do whatever the hell they wanted. And I wasn't even allowed to speak for myself in court. Pamela Cardi deserves prison time for her representation of me. Same thing with Zoe Tanner. Same thing with Amanda Balehash. I let these public pretenders know that I was not okay with the way they were doing their jobs because they weren't doing their jobs. They were refusing to do their jobs. While police and the Bollingers are able to attack me from all sides and get away with it due to jurisdictional boundaries, and they're able to jump across those jurisdictional boundaries to steal or destroy evidence, there is a major issue with this as well. Me, I didn't go cutting up little bits and pieces of these conversations like Mike Boudet did and put my own questions ahead of it. I didn't have to do that. It's raw, real, and unfucking cut. See, that's the difference between entrapment and what I'm doing. What I'm doing is exposing the whole truth. That computer that was stolen by the police in Rawlins, Wyoming needs to be returned to me. And I need to be kept safe from the police in order to make the reports that I need to make.